Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Carter-White, the business manager of the change and transformation team at Altum. For the past 7 years, I've been dedicated to recruiting top talent in this space, and I'm thrilled to be part of our exciting growth journey. Throughout my career, I've had the privilege of building strong relationships with talented professionals and partnering with businesses to address their recruitment and retention challenges. This experience has given me a good understanding of the risks and opportunities involved in today's competitive talent market. One of the most pressing trends, of course, particularly this year, I have observed is the increasing importance of AI towards all businesses and organizations. In today's rapidly evolving landscape, understanding and leveraging AI is crucial, especially for CFOs and senior finance leaders. Today, I'm delighted to introduce our expert speaker, Patrick Subret, AI Strategy Director and TEDx speaker. Patrick will share some invaluable insights into AI around things like optimizing financial operations, enhancing decision-making, and shaping the future of finance. Before handing over to Patrick, wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. Feel free to send questions throughout the session via the Q&A function. And essentially what we'll do, we'll have some time at the end for a Q&A session, and this will allow us to have a smooth flow throughout. Please note that this session will be recorded, and we'll be sharing the recording along with other materials with you all after the event. So now, without further ado, let's welcome Patrick.
Oh, thank you very much, Josh. And I'm really, really glad I can be part of this venture. And just a quick recap, if you want to just connect with me, by all means, I'm really grateful for Altum to be here. And if you would like to have any conversation about AI, here I am, and we can just connect after the webinar where we can have consultation or maybe just explore some of the options if you have further questions from the past presentation that we are trying to get together. Very quickly, I'm coming from very highly regulated market and industry like finances, but at the same time scientific laboratories, and I'm researching AI. What I'm trying to give you at this point in time is something that is merging the world of business and science, and that's how I'm doing it on day-to-day basis. I would like to share some insights that are very crucial in your role, not in a role of data scientists, but in a role of leaders that are trying to steer and navigate the organization towards better efficiency, towards secure and ethical attempts to AI introduction. And without any further ado, let's just go with demystifying the AI in finance. And that's the introduction for you. I promise you 3 things. One is we'll just explore how we can optimize financial operations with AI, and that will be very light touch. We won't touch very technical aspects, although I'll give you some of the tooling. We'll explore a little bit of ethical AI and why it is important and why it is shaping the future. And then we'll touch what the future might bring in your remit, in your organizations. If you have any questions, drop them in line. We'll try to answer all of them. And I hope that part of that will be a little bit clearer when we finish our presentation. Starting with some stats. We love stats. And let's just see. I'm saying that around $300 billion will be put in the market by 2027. And that's an extremely big amount of money. Now, in 2030, we are trying to think that it will be just around 1 trillion. So you can just see that how it's growing exponentially, and organizations are looking how to get benefit from that, how to release the value. We see that on a daily basis when people are using it because it's so accessible nowadays. And I'm seeing ChatGPT being everywhere in education, in science, not only in financial, where we could say that it's kind of at the forefront currently. Lately, it was law departments which were at the forefront, and IT and communication. Now things changed. Everyone is trying it, but not everyone is knowing how to release the benefits. And that's where the struggle is. How can release return on investment? How do we know what is this? So before you start with anything of AI, you need to just clarify that the most important thing is it's not technological change. We are reorchestrating the business. We are reorchestrating the process, how we create value from A to Z, from idea to cash, just because we are thinking, okay, there are several steps when we are creating a value to our customers. Each of the steps cost. And at the same time, if we just fix or implement in one very narrow remit, we might not be releasing the full benefit. That's very old falsification of optima. To start with AI, I would like to get us some intuition. We all come from different backgrounds, and I appreciate that some of us might be really, really experienced, and some of us are just first time touching the AI as it is. And believe me, don't be scared. Currently, if anyone is saying that they are experts in AI and they know everything, that's not true. From scientific point of view, we don't know how it works, literally. And that's very scary. So there are ethical aspects that I'll just try to surface to you in some few slides. So let's just touch AI, because it is very, very massive and enormous spectrum of systems. And we even couldn't agree what AI is currently. To simplify it as much as possible, I just give you like 3 spheres. The AI in general is something that acts on data following preset rules. And we will not touch AI as a very wide and deep thing. We'll just focus on some narrow AI, which is machine learning. And that is how we can learn and act from data that are coming from the past. And we used to do that with predictive and descriptive analytics and, t-tests and so forth. And that is great. We could just utilize variable distribution and see how things might happen. And even Monte Carlo is some sort of algorithmic attempt to understand what might happen. What is the likelihood that something is happening? And machine learning is taken it to another level. Then the generative AI, which is just a subset of machine learning and deep learning, in fact, that creates new data. And in current world, the most important thing that has been checked through just recent research is generative AI, 36%. That's when the interviews and surveys has been performed and conducted. ML, sense machine learning, that's 36%. And then still analytic, prescriptive, and predictive, that is just being used in Excel even, or R, or using Python. So we will focus on 2 aspects, machine learning and generative AI. We'll try to predict what is the next dot, and we'll try to generate the likely next dot. Let's start with machine learning. In my career, I've seen many, many times when organizations were trying to predict what is the market. And with JP Morgan, we had this great tool that was trying to figure out what is the likelihood that the current investors will be not so risk averse to a different portfolio. And that is very easy. You can use reinforcement learning, which is part of machine learning, and figure out what is the next dot on this nice scatter and how we can just predict every other dot. But sometimes, and that's what happened with Marsh McLennan about the insurances, we spot some anomaly. And in our data, the past data, we were thinking, what is this? Why is this happening? What is the rationale behind something that is off tangent? And I know in finances, we don't say anomalies. We rather use duplicate payments, suspicious activity, fraud alerts, activities that are not coming from something that is predicted. So based on our past experiences, we see that something is not happening as right. The great tool to implement, and it is really, really very accessible, is Neptune AI. There are a few others, but this one gives you very nice paths, and happy paths, one would say, that help you predict what is a good what is happy path of customers. And every other path means that something is different, something that is changing, and that is very important if you are trying to spot suspicious activity. And that was with insurances, where we could just spot some activities. And that is when we are trying to figure out what is the likelihood, what is the sentiment, etc. Now I would say in your role, this is very beneficial to go with machine learning and utilize tools like Neptune AI, or maybe other simple tools. You can utilize some that are in Google Cloud, like TensorFlow, and go with estimators. I'm just trying a bunch of different names, but these are tools that can help you navigate what is there. In order to benefit from that, what I find out, you need to have your data in place. Just because we are predicting what is likely to happen, we need to have our data set really, really straightforward. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be secure. We need to regulate that through governance. And at the same time, we need to think, is our data answering the questions that we have? And then technology comes last, because we believe that technology should come last. It should just answer the question, why do we think that this technology will help us to find answers to our questions? So just to conclude, if you are trying to implement AI, you need to think about, and you want to think about ML, machine learning, start with your data and your problem. And nowadays, we know that if we have semi-structured data, which is like scanned PDFs, and I had this situation with British Business Bank when we had conversations about how we can just deal with semi-structured data. Large language models can help you. Natural language processing can help you to turn this semi-structured data into some sort of structured data, and then you can dive deeper into analysis. And that takes me to generative AI, which we know is kind of the most trendy thing currently, especially if we look in generative pre-trained models. Just to give you a recap how GenAI is working, it learns on past experiences and past data, same as machine learning. The only difference is that it's trying to create something new based on the data that it has been trained on. So if you are trying to generate a tree, and we know that will be a bonsai tree, it just has been trained on many different images or text or sound or videos to create something that is new, something that is statistically that you are looking for, but a little bit different. And this a little bit different is the part that makes the uniqueness to this. And there is some caveat to generating new things. If you are thinking that it can generate your analysis on a data, it will create, just like it created these two trees, very similar to what you will expect, because it's trying to make based on predictions, but always different. So imagine if you are giving the data about your, let's say, tax, there is a high likelihood that it will generate something that is non-existent. That is very nicely put as a wording, but each time it will be different. The analysis might be different. I'm not saying wrong, we might be lucky, but it hallucinates very often. Some say that it hallucinates all the time, and sometimes it's right. And I totally agree. In order to utilize GenAI, you need to do it differently. First, you need to have the proper data and secure data anonymized and utilize machine learning to get some insights as per predictive analytics. And GenAI you can just drop together to create more digestible results as a report. So that's the easiest way to utilize it without compromising the quality of your report, for instance. Why? It is great at doing things. And if you get this prompt engineering, meaning basically asking the right questions to the machine, communicating, you can create really astonishing results. And this one is based on query, how would Nike shop look in Tokyo or Kyoto? But it needs to be accommodated to already existing architecture. And you can see, yeah, this is astonishing. But sometimes the models, if they're not trained very well, they can go really bad, and then can produce something that is really not what we are looking for. Yeah, it is salmon, but is it the one that we would like to see? So please bear in mind that it can produce great results, but it's just statistically great results and a little bit different to make them unique. So we could see different things. Where to start? I think that this part of optimizing financial operations is the most important, and you can use it and you can achieve that. I would rather rephrase that in a different way. First of all, there are like 5 aspects that I see where you can very, very quickly have value from artificial intelligence. Then you can do it through performance enhancement and predictive analytics. What I mean by that, you can provide future trends on financial KPIs and predictive insights to highlight areas of improvement. You can measure what is not working, what it's working, and spot the opportunities to enhance performance based on KPIs. And that can be done through machine learning, that can be done through really simple tools. You can create predictive models to detect and prevent fraudulent activities. Like in past data, if we train machine to understand what is happening and when it is happening and how to spot it, then it will be much quicker. So any financial misreporting can be very, very quickly spotted through the machine learning. And there are tools that can be really, we had this tool from 60s nearly. We can go through automated reporting and analysis. And I've seen that in Edward Associates when we had reporting to be done based on data, and we utilize Power BI, and we utilize a lot of different service, semi-structured interviews, and they were like quantitative and qualitative data. And from 5 weeks of building these reports, we narrowed that to only a few hours. And we didn't took human from equation, we needed to check it. But at first, we had at least something that was nicely phrased and was generated, and we could just go through it. Now, GenAI embedded assistant for crafting this request is something that I'll go for. It can create some summaries. It can generate audit and quarterly reports based on data from your, let's say, cloud or from your data lake or mesh. You can utilize natural language search and display the information from kind of contractual documents. So I recently mentioned about the semi-structured and structured data. If you have thousands of PDFs and they are being scanned, you can make some really nice queries and find really good data. And there are tools which will help you. I will not give you the names, but there are plenty of tools that you can drop your document in secure way. I will touch this point, and then create map how these documents are being connected together. We used to do that with legal partners when we wanted to find out who is working with this case and how the case is connected with other cases and how the financial implications are being imposed at the same time. So you can use that to get contractual documents, provide summarized view of contracts, and get synopsis even just to quickly just navigate through that. And moreover, you can just turn the transcriptions in your Microsoft Teams, of course, unless everyone is agreeing and all the GDPR and the policies requested is intact. And then you can have the synopsis, and that will be useful for people who could not attend the meeting. You can just spot some actions, etc. We use that in Runcheon College when we turned on the transcriptions for every meeting. And then we went through that with thematic analysis, asking what is happening in our financial department. What are the 3 problems or topics that are continuously discussed? And we knew that these are the most important things that we need to fix. So you can create the comprehensive and real-time reports and analyze them in a quicker and make quicker decisions. So that's great. When we move to data management and insight generation, that's very, very important. You can have natural language enabled query tools for massive data sets. And you can generate inferences and visually appealing dashboards really, really quickly. So you can really have your business intelligence in place and make informed decisions based on data. And you can use GenAI even for invoice management and reconciliation. That's how it has been used in law industry very, very often, just to make it quick. The collection and assistance copilot. So this is very, very new, and it started. We started with the queries, we started with some of the data, but now we can have AI-powered virtual assistants and collection agents, for instance, offering real-time sentiment analysis and for customers and for our research, and we can just have some recommendations and collected strategies and responses that we can choose from. So it can allow you to have a personal coach or personal Socrates who will just try to give you other options from the situations based on literature, based on how your organization is acting, based on your policies, but you need data. And maybe the last one, financial operations and monitoring. This is very, very interesting. And I think that it's already been used in many industries. This payment forecast dashboard, for instance, to analyze how the customer behaviors, what is the likelihood that they'll pay or they'll just default. And you can just make the continuous monitoring and analysis of all the transactions and then give them a view of the compliance. So I hope that this sparks some interest and you can see that how you can use it very, very simply. Very, very simply is a key phrase right now, because majority of organizations does have Power Automate or Power BI or ChatGPT access. And trust me, within these 3 tools, you can have your very quick prototypes. Yes, there are some tools on the market that you can buy off the shelf, but if you want to experiment in a secure way, the easiest way is, okay, let's just spin up some Power BI dashboard very quickly through Power Automate and through ChatGPT. How? In Edward Associate, we wanted to go in depth into details, into semi-structured and structured data, like I mentioned. We utilized ChatGPT to create the DX code for Power BI to spin up very simply and very quickly new dashboard. And then utilizing Power Automate, we're just feeding this Power BI with the new data. Yes, the data needed to be secure and everything needed to be as privacy. So we either anonymized or we used the data that we could. And that was a very simple solution to have dashboards. And from my experience, if you ask any development department to create new dashboard for Power BI, that's just weeks. Now you can do it with your business analysis intact very, very quickly, or you can just shorten the development of that from weeks into hours even. There are some other aspects. You can utilize even Copilot from Microsoft and generate Python code and then create very nice predictive analytics in your Excel. So I believe that every employee could just be, literate in that case, but you need some sort of training and workshops to show how they benefit in the day-to-day work. And that takes me to ethical and AI finance operations, which is very, very important. I mentioned so much of data ingestion. I mentioned so much about how we can just deeper into data, how we can just gather some insight. But data, once you put something into these models, once you drop the PDF into your ChatGPT and you think secure, it's not. The model is already trained on that, and there is no way on earth that you'll just take this out. And we need to make sure that every analysis comes from data, and our data is biased. For majority of years, the literature, the documents which models have been trained on, are coming from white males that were professionals. So we have biased data, and we need to make sure that we know that. So there is a hallucination, meaning that model will just create answers that are not existent. And there are even law cases about that sometimes organizations which is just spinning very, very quickly chatbots, and chatbots is recommending refund based on company policy. Well, it never was in a company policy, but model just created an answer that was suitable for the situation, similar to what happened, not in this organization, because it wasn't trained on the privacy of this organization, but on whatever else's privacy policy. We cannot just drop data with personal details, etc., into the model. For that reason, we have options, and there are open source options to create our own models from foundation models, and they're at the premises or at the edge, meaning that own devices, and then we can train them on our data. And that's how banks are doing it very, very often. They have 2 layers. They have foundation models, which is secured with the agent, and then they're connected with the normal chat. And if we need some in-depth information about certain customers, then we are utilizing the premises model. The cybersecurity, how we operate data. We don't want to leak data, even from meetings. An ethics aspect, which is ethical. The ethics is I'm not ethicist, but I think that every organization, when they're creating AI strategy, they need to start with the values that they want to represent and align these values with what AI could be, and how it could be used and why it would be used and what does that mean for this organization. And there are 2 approaches. There is a risk aversion approach and a pro-innovation approach, and you need to decide on which side you are. Are we living in a very highly regulated market and we would like to be less exposed to a risk? Then go with a risk aversion model. Or we are pro-innovative, small organization, medium organization, that we want to be on the verge of new things, go with innovation, but remain the balance between your risk assessment and between innovation, and put your money where it needs to be. And I identified from my past experiences where we are failing. And just to be sure, 83 to 92% of AI projects are failing. That's the failure rate. And given that these initiatives are really from 10,000 to 1 million, from my experience, it is more like 100K, basically, for 100 users AI to be used. It is just very, very high rate. If you have obstacles, you would like to identify them before you start your venture. And I can tell you that there are 4 risks that are happening. The first one is like cost, the second, decision-making, reputation, and change management. These are the highest risks when you are trying to encounter with your AI in organization. How to have a remedy? And I identified you need to treat any of the AI initiative just like you deal with the portfolio management. You need to centralize to avoid duplication of cost. You cannot just drop it somewhere and someone will, from data, will try to spin up some models, because that will cost you very, very much. You need to scale your vendors and control the software costs. So if you have, for instance, any Microsoft solution, stay with Microsoft and look what they offer and try to control the software costs. Otherwise, everyone will try to go and put something off the shelf because it's easier, and then you will end up with 1,000 different software costs coming from different directions, and it will be very hard to justify which one is the most beneficial. And estimation is crucial. We don't know what is the cost of AI yet. We might predict, and the return on investment, usually, from what I can say, is 3 years. Yes, you might realize some benefits, but to fully have a return on investment, that's like 3 years. So during your small pilots with vendors that you already have in controlled environment, you can estimate and you can monitor while you are running this AI. So Three Horizons is really, really great at that space. You can measure adoption rates. There's nothing worse than customers that are maybe benefiting from AI, but your employees are not, and they are not willing to utilize it, and the adoption rate is really, really low. That's waste generated. And the most important thing, we need to refocus every time to align the initiative from AI to our strategic priorities. And that's so crucial. That's why I mentioned so often, starts with your business problems, business objectives. Try to figure out what is stopping us from achieving these results, and how technology, if there is a technology, can help us, and why do we believe it will. The other aspect, it's decisions. Everyone is thinking, let's just put automation everywhere and we'll just have a great decision-making techniques. That's not true. If you have wrong process, you'll just extrapolate all the problems. Now, my advice is start with stage number 1. The stage number 1 is get the human to be a leader, and just let AI, in whatever shape, to support the decisions. Just support, but it's a human who is a leader. The second stage, after the first one is being adopted, is augment this human. So if your decision needs to be made, and you know that there are like 5 activities, let just machine help with performing these activities. And the third stage is full automation of these activities. That's the easiest way and the most secure. The other aspect is responsible AI, and I can't stretch it. This is the most important, because it affects all the humans, all the employees, customers, and reputation of our organization. So you need to have guardrails. You need to have governance, adjusted governance, how you are going to use AI, the vision of the AI in your organization, how the policy and regulation and ethics are being embedded. By using responsible AI model, and there are frameworks for governance, there are specialists who can help you. You are lowering your failure rate. Please remember, it is 83% to 92, 95 maybe in some cases. You are lowering by 28% just by creating the governance for AI. 28%, your failure is low. So that takes us to nearly 55%. Astonishing. The very other aspect is business architecture. I started to mentioning that it is reorchestrating how your business looks like. So very often when you are trying to implement new technology, new tools, what is crucial is change management. We need to collaborate and need to have solid plan for change management. Always start with the problem intent, plan the skills shift, plan the trainings, cost the trainings, and associate with the risks that what will happen if we won't do it correctly and what was the cost associated. And the new role that I believe CFOs are playing currently and are envisaged to play, it is about being strong leader in the organization. You are steering organization pace into new technology, into new process, and into effectiveness. So to succeed, you still need to be very analytical. Yes, you can hire specific talents. Some people are hiring even chief AI officers. Some people are hiring just associates and so forth. But experiment and fail fast. With the knowledge and with the analysis, it's possible. And invest in software and new models. Really invest and do it very carefully through the portfolio management, like I mentioned. And that takes me to what the future look like. And I'll say, we've been through decades into different technologies. We had mobiles, internet, Web3, and so forth. But ultimately, in finances, what we are looking for, and that's from my experience, was how to find this predictive analytics useful. And then we had AI and ML, where we just enhance these capabilities. And then we had enormous amount of data, all the cloud trends, mesh, data lakes that help us to understand, okay, so what does data from our organization, our remit tells us? How to turn the insight into foresight that is so crucial. And we've been introduced into Gen AI and large language models. So we started to create great content. And then currently, we have plenty of co-pilots which are helping us to navigate. This is kind of an interface to all the previous stages of technology. And it takes us into agents. And agents will be very specific robots, I would say, prediction machines that will help us to do tasks, some certain tasks. It won't take over our job. It will help us to utilize whatever we had in the past in a more accessible way. Your agent will try to help you with your predictive analytics, will help you to generate report, but the way you will interact, it will be completely different. And just recently, I've been at the symposium where Salesforce was introducing their agents, Dreamforce, and I could tell you it is a massive difference in customer experience when you can just not call the customer center, but you call number, and then one agent is taking your case, and you don't need to repeat what happened. You don't need to repeat what was your case. You are not being redirected. Your agent, your personal agent for that from that organization knows everything about your buying experiences, about your software, about your organization. So you ask questions like you ask your assistant. So when is my package going? Oh, my shirt come too small. And then based on predictive analytics, based on data that they have about you, they can, okay, answer in a manner. And I've seen that demo. We will just send in 2 weeks your new set of shirts, and it will be size medium, for instance. And the conversation is just like with a human. So I imagine that if we are working in a very regulated environment, and we have personal assistant who just give us all the insights we need to make a crucial decision. And these agents are transparent how they are doing it and secure. That will speed up our decisions and make them more efficient. And you can ask these models about anything in your setting. And without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed this small glimpse into AI in CFO. And I believe, Josh, that we should just move into question and answer section.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Patrick. That was insightful. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Got quite a few questions in the chat. Tinder, thank you for your question. Do we think AI will take over the transactional roles we currently have humans cover today?
I would say yes, but it won't take over. It will simplify it for us. And just like automatic tellers has been introduced by Barclays, I presume, we had this fear, oh, what about the banks? It is a task that is being done. I believe that part of this job will be taken over and automated, and definitely it will be very, very helpful. Any mundane work, any repetitive task will be overtaken by AI. And I really hope, because I believe that what is the most important in human aspects in any industry, it is this leadership, it is communication, it is empathy, more of the soft skills. So anything that is very analytical and decision making will be a little bit off on the side of AI. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. Couple of anonymous ones as well. One of them was what kind of budget would organization need to implement some of these AI strategies?
That's a very good question. Like I mentioned, the budget from AI starts from 10 to God knows where. That some crucial questions that need to be asked before you start with AI. The first one, don't go with approach of fear of missing out. Think about, do we really need that? In majority of the organizations, the first is robotic process automation. Just automate some of the processes if the process is right. And that's very, very small cost. If you would like to go with Gen AI or any machine learning, you can start with very low cost of £10,000 and spin up some very quick models, and even people without coding experience can do it. So I appreciate that we have leaders in our cohort, but if we want some people to just prototype, they can do it very, very quickly. To tell you how quickly and how cheaply, there is a software, Cursor AI, or you have Claude model. These two systems can create fully functional financial dashboards in 6 minutes, in 10 minutes, without any coding techniques, by utilizing your voice or typing only simple prompt like, I want a dashboard with financial data that will present 2 stocks, get the data from Google and present it and compare. And it will do it. It will utilize web interface and it will do it. It will create backend of that, so all the database connection, and it will create the front end. And that is 6 minutes. Cursor AI, you can watch on YouTube. That's astonishing. I've seen 8-year-old girl coding a game utilizing no skills. So that can give you the insight into how much it can cost. It can cost just time. Now, if we are thinking about more secure and something that is deployed into organization, I would say it is, if we use agile methods, it is at least 2 to 4 weeks, and that takes us from 50 to 100K if we want to develop some models and in a secure way. But to start with that, you need to have your data in order as well. And that's the highest cost. If you jump straight to the models without thinking what is your data and what's your business problem, that's a misunderstanding. Does that answer your question? You need some of like these 3 approaches.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there were a couple of more questions around budgets, depending on the size of organization, but we'll touch on them shortly. Another one was around, is there a requirement to have an AI specialist supporting organizations to implement AI? So perhaps the adoption piece you mentioned beforehand, potentially. But yeah, it'd be good to get your thoughts on that, Patrick.
Yes. Yes. In my experience, when I step into organization, we have this process, and this process is kind of a very simple one at first. You need to assess what is your current state of reality. And before that, organization itself need to find out, what do we want to achieve? Is it operational effectiveness? Is it creating a new market for a product? Or is it creation of maybe new stream for existing product or creating new product? So organization needs to have a glimpse of an understanding what they want to go where. What's the true North Star? And when we step into organization, the first stage is assess the goal. The second step is assess the current state of reality. And you might see the delta in between. But when we're assessing the reality, it means, what is the business setting? What is the cultural setting? What is the process looking like? What methods are we using? What is the governance and ethical state? What is the data excellence look like? What the data can help? And what is the software stack that we are currently using? And that gives us some sort of understanding and map, strategic map, what we can do. If we don't have data, and if we don't have, we need to start with something else. But if, given that we have like from 1 to 10, 7 at every point-ish, and organization wants to introduce some Gen AI and a little bit of machine learning models, then we can start working on it. And the third stage is to map the opportunities where we think that, given the current state of reality and the goal that organization can achieve, where we can see AI to be implemented as quickly and as with a low risk and a high benefit, low hanging fruit. Once we map that, then we go through governance, because the opportunity is great, but we need to flag what are the risks. And these risks are, like I mentioned, what is the cost, possible cost? Do we have capabilities and capacity to do it? What are the flags from ethical aspect? And we create governance. And that will give us the roadmap that we can just achieve. And usually for these stages, you need someone who will just guide you. Later on, when you have your roadmap, depending what is the solution that you are trying to implement, then the things are and paths are different, because you might have already a vendor, and then consultant might help you to assess, to vet the vendor. So if it's a Microsoft, and you know what opportunities you're looking for, you know what possible budget you have, you know what are the risks, and then you state that with your vendor. Maybe you need to look for a new vendor, or maybe you need to develop something in-house because there is no solution. There might be in 6 months, but it's not currently. So that's the stage when you might need a consultant as well, but sometimes you're on a good path. And the very last is training. In fact, that training, it's happening all the time. You are training first leaders about why this opportunity and so forth. But when you are introducing this technology, there's a certain skill shift that is needed, and it's happening. And to make it successful, you need change management, you need skilling, etc. And that is job of, depending if it's a vendor, maybe it is a little bit of change consultants, etc. And then you have monitoring piece. So this is like simplified, step by step. Sometimes these steps are, like I mentioned, with training, are being mixed. It is good to have someone who does have understanding, but, and that's the most important thing out of this answer. Don't drop AI implementation to IT, to data scientists only, because you are orchestrating your business model. And these people are talented, they are great at creating models and looking into data and analyzing it. But you need business person to align this and then communicate with engineering side. Otherwise, you will just have great solutions, but they'll be not connected with strategic points. And some organization does have these individuals. Some organizations are looking to have this interface in between. I know from my past experience that big organizations, like I mentioned earlier, are hiring on a different basis, fractional, sometimes chief AI officers. Sometimes they are just AI consultants that are working on the different levels. It's good to have it. But internally, when you are adopting AI, And if you are thinking about Gen AI, and if you are thinking about OpenAI, for instance, as a provider, you are touching the risk, which is medium risk of this model, meaning you need to have AI body, AI governing body within your organization. And that body, for lack of a better term, needs to be constructed with people from different backgrounds: financial, business, technological, ethical, and they need to just challenge their decisions. And that's how you assess risk. That was a very long answer, but it is very, very complicated how to do it.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Another one, just rattling from. So there's another one. What are the biggest challenges in integrating AI tools into existing financial systems and processes?
That's a very good question. I touched this point. Data is the biggest problem. And by data, sometimes it is how we access the data. Can we access it? Can we consume it? Are we having it in a cloud? Are we having it at the premises? So this is kind of a difficulty. Very often, we cannot use the data in the current state, so we need to move into this data excellence. Sometimes we have very old platforms. There is a solution for that, and we need to migrate, and it is costly. That's why I mentioned, if we are trying to figure out how we can utilize API so we can provide data that is being consumed by AI systems, we might utilize business process tools or automation, robotic process automation, and that help us to first migrate this data into new state. Semi-structured or unstructured data is of a problem sometimes because you need to first go, but Gen AI is great at that. It can just help you to digest this information and create some intelligence from this. What is the most difficult, and that peculiar as it is, it's human factor. Acceptance of utilization of new systems is the most difficult part. And as you can tell, you can have your strategy, but culture will eat it for a breakfast, old saying, but it is true. If you are trying to introduce new system, the resistance from people, from humans, is very, very high. It is new, it is scary. You are remodeling business process. So I would say, yes, technology might be of paramount, but really of paramount is people and the process. And you need to just merge these two, people and process, help them to learn. Very often, and I think that concludes my answer, we deal with these problems of ambidexterity. Shall we just innovate or shall we just maintain? And this is the difficulty when organization is spending majority of time, more than 80%, on just keeping the lights turned on without this innovation part. That's why I mentioned at first, we have this risk and innovation approaches. We need to innovate, and we need to understand that our most important thing is to continuously innovate and seek for new solutions to problems and improve the way we produce the value. Because nowadays, standing still in our organization and maintaining it at the current state is literally going backwards.
Perfect. Thank you. Alexander has asked, can you give an example of a simple way you have used AI in your experience for a client?
I can give you a very, very simple one. That was creating PowerPoint presentations. And I think that's the easiest one and very, very helpful. If we have branding for our organization and PowerPoint is already with brands, the easiest way was just to open it, then open something like ChatGPT or Llama, which is at the premises, and it's much more secure, depending with what presentation you are trying to make. Create simple content, just like in a notepad, stating what would you like to say, how you want to decompose your communication, what is important. Drop that into ChatGPT and utilize a little bit crafty prompt engineering technique, which will help you to ask for Visual Basic code for my presentation. And here is the content of my presentation. And please make sure that there is a one picture or graph that will be implemented later. So I'll just say that again. You ask for a presentation for a PowerPoint in any ChatGPT. You ask that to be in Visual Basic code. And this is the content that you would like to produce. Please make sure that data is either anonymized or utilize different models, excuse me, or you are using just very, very, very data that is obviously not so sensitive. And then ask it to build it. You will be given Visual Basic code. You copy this code, you open your PowerPoint, and you interact with PowerPoint by implementing, pasting basically this code into your template, and you have your presentation. What's left is add the sensitive data or just some graphs. And that's the easiest way that we utilize in Runshon College for employees. You might ask, oh, that's not so much saving. Yes, it is. They were creating programs for people with vision impairment, neurodiversity, and to create one program in such a diverse spectrum of individuals, it is of difficulty, and it usually takes like 2 weeks. What they achieved, it was just like 3 hours to create set of different presentations for people with color blindness, for instance. So tailored. Does that give you a good example?
Yeah, absolutely. And then just Mohammed has asked, it sounds like there are a lot of activities that need to be done in preparation from this. How can businesses make a start? And then Mohammed asked around roughly a high level budget, 2 billion, for example, but I appreciate you talked about budgets already, but hope you can share some insight on that.
Yes. That's a very good question. How to start? And I would say start small, just because the resistance will be too high in your organization and the value realization will be very prolonged. Look at first, what are the problems, and take very small problem and try to figure out how to solve it with AI. Gather some people and make this prototype, small proof of concept, and try to test it. So use it very, very quickly and see what are the results. You need to go with hypothesis. And I'm a great fan of hypothesis-driven development of any solutions. You can utilize simple format like, we believe that this problem, A, is kind of a crucial for organization. And we believe that by implementing tool B, we will solve this problem. And we will know that we are right, and we believe we are right, if the C kind of indicator will be at D kind of level. So if we are talking about speed to market, maybe there is a decision to be made and we can just shorten it from week 2 for simple PowerPoint is kind of an example. And then choose the solution that will just fit very, very, very quickly. And it will be walking skeleton, but you'll realize benefit and you can present that. That's the easiest way. However, big organizations are having big budgets, and with HSBC, when we were thinking about doing something massive, budget were really, really, really key. Start with the vision. What do we believe that AI will give this organization? And then try to decompose that into what needs to be true, so we know that we are walking towards that vision. And that's where you start. You need to have this first followers and people who are early adopters, so they can try and we can just share knowledge. But ultimately it goes to first step number 1. What is your problem that you are trying to solve? Do you have data, or do you have tools that can help you with that? With Gen AI, you might just try it with a PowerPoint. Maybe you have some anomalies. And that's the easiest way. If you don't know if the AI can help you, get someone. I mentioned we can just stay in touch, and I'm really always trying to put something into society. Try to have a conversation. Is there already a solution? I bet there is, to your problem. And then, is it a good solution? Is it a secure solution? Will take you to your ethics and governance. And budget, I would say, rule of thumb, for 100 people that will consume this AI system, you need 100 million. But you can start with as low as 100K and you'll have something already. Does that answer your question?
No, thanks for that, Patrick. And then Adrian has said that there is a lot of talk about accountants being replaced. However, it sounds like AI should be seen as an enabler of the finance team to move towards add value tasks by taking on the tasks that can be learned, which is only a good thing.
Mm.
And then leading to the question of the only concern that Adrian has is the continued acknowledgement that Gen AI continues to be not fully understood. You
Mm.
mentioned about ChatGPT and then Microsoft Copilot. Is there a different level of risk to using each of these currently?
Yes. Oh, there are like plenty of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gartner and they had very good presentation about accountants. And I will just try to condense it and give you a little bit. And the same was about the Salesforce recently. When Excel has been introduced, everyone was thinking, oh, who will be just, oh, accounting is just dead. Everyone could just utilize it. Well, in fact, that just helped to spark more interest and everyone, okay, we can just scale it. We can have more customers, etc. We can do our job quicker so we can scale because the tool is scaled. Yes, very often we see this as a threat because it's taking my tasks, not job. You cannot do job of accountant currently. It can help you. It can do particular activities, but it won't overtake. There is a lot of thinking in accounting. What is important now, when organization will try to scale, there will be 3 stages, and it has been recognized. You'll have human and technology, AI, and if you would like to scale, you'll just have another AI, and this one human. Later on, it will be AI to AI. So I won't be talking to my accountant. My AI will talk to AI of my accountant. And if something unusual happened, like from predictive analytics, the anomaly, human will step in. So if there is always, submitting, VAT return or something like this, it will be done by a machine. It's already very automated, signing documents, etc. The decision at first will be at the human place. And then the decision that is different than usual will be made by a human only, but will just be moved into how to utilize it better, the tax, how to figure out where to invest, and will, based on different AI, have the decisions to be made. And it's very hard to predict what we will be doing. I hope that we'll be doing nothing maybe and we'll be getting paid. That's really brilliant. Maybe we'll have some hobbies. But currently, AI will not overtake. It will just enhance your capabilities. And I believe this symbiosis of human and machine will be where we are heading. Could you remind me the second question?
Yes, it was talking about level of risk.
Yeah, level of risk in different tooling. And that's a very good question. Year ago, in 2023, and starting with 2024 to March, Microsoft has written that even though you use Copilot and it is secure in your organization, on some occasions, this model will be trained on your data. So I let you answer this question about different risk. ChatGPT that is accessible via web, it is the model that is being trained on your data. Whatever you drop there, even your CV, it goes into this model and it's gone. Model will utilize it, model learned on that. So that's very unsecure. If you are utilizing your APIs, you are utilizing whatever is there at the ChatGPT, for instance, and you have your small embedded model. I wouldn't risk that. That's why you have models like Llama, Roku, or different that you can just install, or Mistral at the premises. And you can have, based on foundation models, your own model that you will utilize. Yes, you need some sort of machine power to use it, but they're just very, very nice nowadays and very light. So high risk when you are doing something on the public models, basically, and lower risk when you have models that are foundational, but are turned into agent in your own space. The easiest answer is if you see how Apple is trying to introduce their intelligence, everything will be on the device. It will be on your data. Your data will never leave the device. However, you will have an option to utilize OpenAI's ChatGPT if you would like to dig deeper into topic, or if you would like to access some other information than your data. So to conclude, if you are using something that is available publicly, risk is high. If you are using something that is dedicated to your organization, it means your model has been trained on your privacy. It is remaining intact as per governance in your organization. It is more secured. Does that answer your question?
Brilliant.
I hope.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Yeah, apologies as well. My camera is having some issues. Could do with AI to fix that as well. But yeah, just as a follow up, anyone that has any additional questions, we will reach out and discuss accordingly. But yeah, just wanted to thank everyone and Patrick for attending today. Really insightful session. Thoroughly
Thank you very much.
enjoyed it.
Pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you everyone for joining. Much appreciated. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna be kickstarting the session now.